Laureen Rahn was born on April 3, 1966, in Manchester, New Hampshire. Her parents divorced when she was an infant, and she was raised primarily by her mother, Judith. When Laureen was 4 years old, she and Judith moved to Miami, Florida, but they returned to Manchester 6 years later. By 1980, they lived in a third-floor apartment on Merrimack Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. During this time, Laureen attended Parkside Junior High School. She was described as a cheerful, outgoing girl who excelled in school and got along well with her mother. She enjoyed singing and dancing, and she aspired to be an actress. However, Laureen was described as troubled. She spent a lot of time alone on the streets, considered running away, and started smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol. Her aunt, Diane Pinot, called her, quote, an angel who hung around with the wrong people for a while. On April 26, 1980, Laureen stayed at home alone while her mother went to watch her boyfriend play tennis outside of town. Laureen usually accompanied her mother to these matches, but she chose to stay at home this time. Laureen spent the day walking around the neighborhood and shopping at a nearby convenience store. In the evening, she invited a male and female friend over to drink alcohol together. The friends reported seeing Laureen purchase wine coolers at the store, possibly in exchange for alcohol. Around 12:30 a.m. the next morning, Laureen and her male friend heard voices in the hallway of their apartment building. Assuming it was Laureen's mother returning, the male friend left through a back door, which Laureen presumably locked behind him. Another neighbor also reported hearing voices approaching the apartment around that time. Around 1:15 a.m. on April 27th, Judith arrived home with her boyfriend and discovered that the light bulbs on all 3 floors of the apartment building had been unscrewed, leaving the hallways completely dark. When she came to her apartment, the front door was unlocked. Judith first looked into her daughter's darkened bedroom, saw that the bed was occupied, and assumed it was Laureen. Her boyfriend then noticed that the back door was open. Judith went to wake up Laureen and ask why, but as she approached the bed, she realized it was a friend, not her daughter. Laureen's friend claimed that Laureen had been in bed with her, but had taken her pillow and blanket to sleep on the living room couch. The girl later stated that she couldn't remember anything from that night because she was so drunk. Judith discovered Laureen's purse and her brand new sneakers, a birthday gift, in the living room. Laureen's belongings, including her money and clothing, were not missing, and there was no evidence of a struggle in the apartment. Judith called family members to see if Laureen was with them, then went out with her boyfriend to search the neighborhood. Around 3:45 a.m., Judith saw a police car and flagged it down to report her daughter missing. For several weeks, police believed Laureen had fled. However, when she did not return, they began to reconsider their theory. They believed she had left the apartment with the intention of returning, and that something had happened. A bus company employee told police that on the day Laureen disappeared, he sold a ticket to a girl who matched her description, and a company driver identified Laureen from an old photograph as a girl he had dropped off in Park Square, Boston. Weeks later, police obtained a more recent photograph and interviewed him again. The driver said he was no longer sure that the girl he had dropped off was Laureen. 6 weeks after Laureen disappeared, Denise Dano, a 25-year-old woman who lived 2 blocks away, also went missing from a Manchester bar. Decades later, police discovered that suspected serial killer Terry Petter Rasmussen was living in the neighborhood under the alias Bob Evans. Rasmussen later pleaded guilty to murdering his wife in California in 2003 before dying in 2010. Rasmussen is suspected of being involved in up to 6 more murders and/or disappearances, including that of Denise Beaudin, who went missing in Goffstown in 1981 and was never found, and the Bear Brook murders, which refer to 4 female murder victims discovered in Bear Brook State Park between 1985 and 2000. One of the victims was Rasmussen's biological daughter. Fast forward to October 1st, 1980. Judith discovered that she had been charged for 3 phone calls made in California. She had no friends or relatives there, and Laureen had no ties to the area. 2 calls were made from a motel in Santa Monica and another from a motel in Santa Ana, with the last one going to a teen sexual assistance hotline. Detectives spoke with the physician who ran the hotline, and he initially denied knowing anything about the call. 5 years later, in 1985, Carol Jensen, an investigator for the organization Wings for Children, contacted the physician, who changed his story, claiming that numerous young women and runaways visited his wife at their home on occasion, and that one of the girls could have been Laureen. He also claimed that Annie Sprinkle, a sex educator and former pornographic actress who allegedly knew his wife, could have additional information about Lauren's disappearance and that of other runaway girls. However, investigators from Wings for Children and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children were unable to find any evidence linking Sprinkle to Laureen's disappearance. Throughout 1981, there was a light sighting of Laureen at the bus terminal, but nothing came from it. Judith also claimed to have received numerous mysterious phone calls from an unknown individual, which she always received at approximately 3:45 a.m. She claimed that no one spoke during these calls. The phone calls continued for several years after Lauren's disappearance, increasing in frequency during the Christmas season. She changed her phone number several years after her disappearance, and the calls stopped. Laureen's aunt, Janet Roy, also reported that a young girl called the Roy family's phone number several times after her disappearance, asking to speak with Roy's son, Michael. When Michael picked up the phone, the caller was silent. Roy believed the caller could have been Laureen because she would refer to Michael as Mike, a nickname she only used for him. Jensen visited California in 1986. She found the motels from which the October 1980 phone calls were made. She discovered that one of the motels may have been used as a filming location by a child pornographer known as Dr. Z. However, she was unable to connect Dr. Z to the hotline. The same year, Laureen's childhood friend, Roger Murray, received a phone call from a woman claiming to be Laurie or Laureen. Murray's mother answered the phone and revealed that the woman claimed to be her son's former girlfriend. Murray dated Laureen when they were around 12 years old. The last reported sighting of Laureen was in Anchorage, Alaska, where a sex worker had fit the description of Laureen. Judith remarried and moved to Florida. She has stated that she believes her daughter made the calls from California in October 1980. The unnamed male friend, who was drinking alcohol with Laureen on the night she went missing, committed suicide in 1985, but law enforcement never considered him a suspect in her disappearance. Investigators assigned to Laureen's case have stated that they believe foul play was for sure involved. That leaves us 2 today, and Laureen was never seen again. What do you guys think happened? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if you enjoyed it by leaving liking and subscribing. As always, thanks for watching.